Hey guys, welcome back to the Minimalist Sork, or No Gear Sork, whatever you want to call it. I am currently in Act 2. I'm going to try and just get through the act as fast as I can. Pretty sure there's nothing to pick up in the first area, there's just a random boss. So we're going to continue all the way through until we get to something interesting, and I'll probably just use sped up footage or something to fill the gaps.
Alright, at this point in the game, I was actually over leveled from leveling up to kill Geonor, so I was pretty confident that I could just, run past most of the mobs without really killing that many and just running to the next boss, the hyena boss at the end of this area. And, I was pretty confident that I could kill this boss, no problem. It's just a boss with no phases, and I should be able to just probably mow him down pretty fast, but I was very mistaken. It was yet again another boss with a bunch of mobs that are relatively tanky for someone who does not have a wand and a bunch of defense stats. So yeah, it did not go super well, as you will see. At this point, I was contemplating grinding one more level for a bit more health and maybe some damage, but this was recorded at a time where you could not teleport between checkpoints. So I had two options. I could either teleport to town and run all the way back while killing all the enemies along the way, or I could kill the hyenas at the bottom of the boss arena and reset the checkpoint over and over and over. I quickly realized that the bottom hyenas, they only gave around 2% XP at the level I am currently, so I decided to do kind of a middle ground where I would kill the hyenas at the bottom and then do a boss attempt. However, I completely neglected that killing the hyenas at the bottom was using potion charges, and I should have been returning to town so I could have that extra use of my potion before the boss. And I was getting semi used to the boss's rotations at this point. His triple swing into a slam, dodging the spears as they came out, and I actually just completely did not notice that he actually has another attack, which was a slam attack. And this slam attack did not really have a tell that he was doing it other than him swinging his sword. And so I just didn't even notice this attack was there for the longest time. And it seemed that there's like a sweet spot for this boss where you would want to be just out of his melee range so he can't do regular swings at you, but just far enough so that you can always dodge when you see him swing his sword, and you can assume that it's the slam attack. The other thing was this boss took around 50 tries and an hour to beat. It was brutal. By no means do I think this boss is actually hard. I beat him no problem with gear on my minion build and my warrior. But in the end, I only ended up beating this boss due to a bug where his mobs just did not want to come help him for some reason.
I can't do that yet.
I don't know why, but he didn't summon his hyenas up. I have no idea why.
I leave you to the sands, foul raider.
At this point in the game, I was really looking for extra damage, and I thought maybe I can add shock to the build. But I was only at level 5 skill gems, and the only source of shock that is reliable for my build was the Ball Lightning Lightning Warp combo in order to put shock ground onto the floor, and then just amplifying that with the shock magnitude support. But that is just way out of reach at this point in the game. I only had level 5 skill gems, and you need a level 11 skill gem to even access that combo. So I decided that I just had to push on, and hopefully I would be able to kill some more bosses, progress the game, and not have to worry about my character just getting stuck at some point and not being able to progress. I was definitely worried going into the next boss because I knew this was the one boss that I just got absolutely cooked by on my first character. No pun intended.
Alright, we're gonna go in this, just try it. Oh, we beat it first try. Okay, cool. Ooh. 2 Exalted Ores deserved. Alright.
Just don't touch me, Farid. Yes.
At this point in the game, Ascendancies were now on the table, and I decided to put them off till later. I also decided to do something really weird with my recording where I just completely skipped everything and only showed level ups. I don't know why I decided to start doing this. It's kind of weird. I thought it'd be like this snappy, like, hey, here's a level, here's a level, here's a level, but it just kind of cuts out a lot of the content. I kind of just look like I'm now jumping around. But yeah, I guess on to the next boss.
Got you.
The next boss was Jamanra. He wasn't actually that bad. I was expecting it to be a lot worse than it actually was. As soon as I learned his attack patterns and really what the dangerous attacks were, I kind of just got through it pretty easily. There was simple things like dodging his laser. He just has a quote for it, so it's pretty easy to just learn the timing for that. And his slam attack, I kind of learned that I can't be in melee range because not having boots for move speed meant that I couldn't get out of the way fast enough to dodge the slam, but of course I still had to be close enough that I could get into the circle, so I avoided the secondary explosion. And the last ability that really mattered, which was his triple swing, I noticed you can get him stuck on a Sala sometimes, and it would just cause him to swing into a Sala and just kind of waste the attack and allow free damage. So the fight actually went pretty well. I can't imagine it could have went much better than what it did.
By my hand! I tried to seek peace, and the Sekhemas disgraced me. Left my corpse to rot in the sand. This time, we choose war. We shall finish this, but not today.
Make haste! He must not escape!
Mark
Quickly!
my words,
He
Jamanra.
conjures the very
I
sands
will
against
return
us.
you to death.
no natural sandstorm. We must battle storm.
So at this point in the campaign, they send you out to 3 zones, and you get to go to them in whatever order you want. And I decided to go to the Bone Pits. I didn't really think about the boss at the end of the zone before doing this, and I kind of regret it, although one of my attempts did get very, very close. I quickly decided, though, that this boss was not really doable at this time, and I decided, why don't I just go push the next zones up until the bosses so that I can get the waypoints, I'll get extra XP, and then I can get extra levels and whatnot. The boss here specifically, I noticed that Iktab only starts summoning his big orb in the middle that is extremely unpredictable if you get rid of his energy shield. If you let him sit there with his energy shield and just focus on his little other boss, is it Ekbab? I can't remember his name, but he'll never use that attack, which makes it a way easier fight. However, you have to be careful not to get the mammoth too low before you focus on Iktab, because then you'll have a problem where they overlap, and if you do AoE damage, you will kill the mammoth, and then the other guy will just go berserk, and you're done on this kind of character. So I definitely decided early on just to move on, and really I did start struggling at this point in the campaign more than I had before. I eventually realized the problem was definitely just planning. I needed to spend more time looking at the passive tree before going on a character like this and planning out an optimal path and figuring out, well, is this node even going to be usable? And I quickly had this bite me in the butt way later on in the act because the bosses were just too hard, and I ended up having to respec quite a few times to try different things, and eventually I figured it out. So I've now moved on to another area to gain some XP and try a different boss. As you can see, I am trying Grimward now, and I was hopeful that Grimward would somehow increase my survivability. Since I only had 10 energy shield, pickups would constantly refill my bar, so mobbing would have been a lot easier, which it did make it easier, but I quickly realized that it's just completely useless for bosses, because most bosses don't have easy to kill mobs in their arenas. I had 2 major mistakes at this point. First, I did not kill the serpent boss in this area, which rewards 2 passive points, which obviously 2 extra passive points on a character that needs damage is very big. And second, I did not go do my trial of ascendancy. I don't know why I didn't want to do this. I was just worried about failing it over and over again. But when I look back at it, freezing and being range is just very good for the trial of Sekhemas. You should definitely be doing the trial of Sekhemas if you are a freezing character, because you literally can freeze the bosses but also the mobs, and you'll lose almost no honor. So at this point, you can actually see with my passive tree, I was going for a node that is actually quite useless for my build, which was the climate change node. And that node I read completely wrong. It says gain 25% of cold damage as extra fire against frozen enemies. But I completely neglected the fact that it said against frozen enemies. And this is where not planning ahead was starting to catch up to me finally.
Left a child to die. He holds a new loyalty now.
I was mortal then. I was weak.
So this boss is pretty simplistic. You actually just want to make it so his attacks don't hit the 4 cardinal directions in order to cause those containers in the corners to explode and leave fire on the ground. And I realized this fairly quickly. And once I figured that out, it tended to just flow really well. And I managed to beat him pretty quickly. That said, I got pretty lucky as well.
Wow, that went to shit real quick.
Sins of the mother.
Got you!
Oh my god! The one life clutch! Wow! The one health clutch! Let's go! Holy shit!
Who is this? Hail, please. My followers
Wow!
asked you. My opposite.
Okay, let's go. That is insane. I don't remember if you have to wait for the item to drop.
Thank you.
I think you do. Woo! Oh my god, I can't believe that.
The Ardura
One life.
understand
Wow!
I must.
That is so lucky. Okay. Now I moved on to the Valley of the Titans, which was nice because it was a level 25 zone, which meant I could get XP, but along with that I could hand in the 2 pieces of the relic that I got from the other 2 zones. So I could get whatever the bonus was from that. At the time I didn't remember what the bonuses were, but the bonus I ended up selecting was mana recovery from flasks, which obviously ended up being really nice because this character has no real mana regen other than flasks. I also decided to quickly grind a little bit here in order to get some XP, and then also, of course, doing the main quest, which was to grab the seals in order to open the passage to the next area so I could go fight the next boss, which I was hopeful that I could beat just like the previous one. So, Titan's Grotto. This one zone was fine. Like the zone itself, getting through it was fine, but the boss, the Colossus, is incredibly buggy. I don't know if it's been fixed at this point, but the aiming of your spells and stuff is just so bad because at least my thought when I'm playing the game is I aim at the boss's body, but the game wants you to aim at the boss's arms. And this is not obvious. It's not like the hands in Legend of Zelda or something where it literally has a freaking eye that shows up and it's like, oh, I need to hit the eye. It's just a very poorly designed boss, in my opinion. And it causes your abilities to just shoot in weird directions sometimes, like right into the ground or way over into a direction where they would never hit the boss. And I just hated this boss. On top of that, I would sometimes clip into the boss's arm or something and like launch way up in the screen, or I'd go to an area of the arena that he broke, and that would just cause my character to flip down and cause the camera all to do wonky things. So this boss was incredibly frustrating, but I did manage to realize I don't have the damage for this boss at this time. So I have kind of gave up on this boss and had to strategize, and I realized I probably should just go back to the other boss that I was trying to do previously because that zone was lower level. And so that is what I ended up doing. So we decided to go back to the bone pits and try the boss again. However, I quickly realized again we're at a roadblock. This boss was just a pain in the butt. He would enrage at times I didn't want him to, or him and the mammoth would just combo me somehow, and I was getting really frustrated. So I decided to sit there and look at the map for a while, and then I noticed, oh, I did not do that serpent quest, and so I finally went and did the serpent quest, and this was like the most amazing thing to notice. I can't even tell you how good it feels to finally notice that you've been missing 2 skill points for so long. It's incredible. So on to the serpent boss we went. So the Serpent boss, this one's kind of a funny one. I actually did not have enough damage to kill this boss with my flasks. It could have also been more like my skill level against the boss was just not that good. I didn't really know when to dodge. It was literally my first attempt at the boss with this character. But at first I ran out of flasks and I had to run away from the boss. And I was like, crap, now I have to go kill regular mobs so that I can refill my flasks. And I quickly realized, man, I am getting no flasks from killing these mobs. So I came up with another strategy. I was like, okay, maybe I can teleport out while I'm near the boss, even though you're not supposed to be able to teleport with bosses, but it just wasn't working. And I then was like, wait, there's a checkpoint right above the boss, and checkpoints refill your flasks. And I had not hit that checkpoint yet. So I just decided, hey, let's try running over to this checkpoint and see if it refills my flasks. And it did. And so I just kind of cheesed the boss by refilling my flasks at a checkpoint. I'm sure if you would have ran far enough away from the boss, it also would have still just let you teleport out. But my strategy ended up working, so that's awesome. The other thing is that right after this boss, I finally sat there and looked at my skill tree and thought about, wow, the passives I have on this are just absolute garbage, and I could just be having +1 to my cold spells and exposure. Why don't I just go for that? So this is a problem that I didn't even think about when I started recording videos for this series. I actually ran out of hard drive space, and OBS literally just stopped recording when I was doing my attempts for this boss. So I actually don't have the clip of me killing this boss finally. And it's really upsetting because it took me so long to beat this boss. I think I remember hearing the sound on my computer going like ding, ding, ding. And I was like, what, why is that sound happening? And I'm like, oh, I hope it's not recording this. And the whole time it was trying to warn me that my freaking hard drive was full. And so, like, I'd say within like 10, 15 minutes after that, I had killed the boss and I saw the hard drive space thing. And I was like, it's okay. I'll just start recording now. And it's gone. Yeah, it's just not there. I'm gonna speed up the start of the Kill of the Colossus. This boss was incredibly frustrating because of the reasons I said before, where your aim was just, it made no sense. And then on top of that, the boss had all these attacks where I couldn't freeze the boss. It would just sit at 99%, and it was so annoying. And if it did a certain combination of attacks, it would just sit at 99 this whole time. On top of that, it also had minions, which we already know minions are not fun for my character. And I also couldn't even aim at the minions sometimes because it would just lock onto his arms. It was incredibly frustrating doing this. The other thing was that it shot projectiles, and so I switched back to summon raging spirits eventually in order to block those projectiles for me, which helped a ton.
I can't do that yet.
Yes, holy shit.
Room here. It's time to go. It is warm and beautiful.
Oh, okay.
This is an immense honor.
It is time. Move swiftly.
It must be hard for some to understand our older traditions.
So I finally decided to go get my ascendancy, and I had to go kill Balbala. And this boss was incredibly easy. It took me one try, and it was a 1-minute boss fight. I was very overleveled for this, and it kind of shows.
I can't do that yet. You fought well, traitor.
Let's talk about Trials of Sekhemas. This I heavily overestimated as I've iterated on over and over again. I
literally can grab anything that sets my defense to 0 on this character because I don't have armor, evasion, or energy shield on this character. So there was 3 afflictions just taken off the table completely. And then on top of that, there was other afflictions that I just didn't really care about. Like the merchant had less stuff. I didn't really care because I knew I only had to kill the first boss. And so I just found it pretty easy. The other thing is I do gotta have the one caveat. I actually instantly ran over to the relic chest without even thinking about it and grabbed relics that had honor resist and just threw them into the little thing that you can put your relics in. And I went through the trial and afterwards thought, wow, that was really stupid. What am I doing? But I also realized after watching this recording back, I got hit like 4 times. So it really didn't make a huge difference to the actual outcome. Maybe I would have been like at like 400 honor, maybe a little bit less, and I would have lost, probably 100. So it doesn't really matter in the end, and I decided not to worry about doing the trial again without the relics. This is kind of funny. I actually had my mic muted when I did the recording of my Ascendancy decision here, but I ended up going a Stormweaver because Chronomancer only provided, I think, one thing I could use, and that was not that great. So I just went with Stormweaver because then I could grab the exposure and Arcane Surge if I needed it for mana eventually. Alright, the next spot that actually mattered was the Spires of Dashar. This area I just needed to go through to get that nice 10% lightning res and kill the boss at the end that I completely forgot about. This boss is extremely simple. For the most part, if you just stay at the back of the boss, they can't do anything other than their little head slam. So that's just basically how I did it. Alright, second time running into Jamanra. This boss was fairly simple. I think it took me 4 tries. I ended up grinding for an extra level after I'd actually gotten to the boss area, and I just kept resetting the checkpoint so that I could just reset all the enemies. I got the point that gave me the 5 all res with some LE damage, and so I was actually at a positive 5 lightning res for this boss, which was really nice. And the boss overall just went pretty well. Most of his attacks are easy to understand after you've seen them 1 or 2 times. I don't think that any player really should have a ton of trouble with his attacks. There's really only a few major attacks that you need to worry about with this boss. The one where he summons the spires that go around in a circle, and you just kind of want to hang around the one that's not sending out sparks. And then the one where the 2 spires chase after you. And this one is actually better just to run in a triangle, and they'll just keep missing you over and over again. But that took me a while to figure out. And the slam with his spires. But after that, his second phase really only has the 2 attacks that matter, the one where he slams his sword and the one where he uses his halberd to do like a swipe attack. And overall, I only tended to die to stuff that I just didn't quite figure out how to dodge yet, but it didn't really take long to figure it out.
Oh, we did it. Okay. Oh, man.
This is not
Okay, that one wasn't that bad, actually. It's ironic that the wolf boss at the start of the act was worse than him. I forgot to do the death counter. End of Act 2, 270 2 deaths. Alright, so that's the end of Act 2. I ran over to the hooded figure, found his true identity, and went on to Act 3, and I'll continue this series in the next video. Thanks for watching.